Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a fantastic day. And without any without any further ado, let's jump right into it. You should all know what time it is. Optimism has not waned, and it should not, because we're getting ever closer to the Bitcoin 2024 halving. A lot of companies have begun to readjust their price predictions. We heard from Standard Chartered, I think it was a couple of weeks ago. They and many other companies are now revising their numbers as to where they think cryptocurrency prices are going to be going over the next, I dare say, literally 18 months at this point. It says financial giant Standard Chartered on Monday revised their price target for Bitcoin and Ether for this year in 2025. Standard Chartered now predicts Bitcoin's price hitting $150,000 by year end and $250,000 in 2025. Moreover, the bank is also predicting Ether to reach $8,000 if a spot Ether ETF is approved by the US SEC. Working backwards, Ethereum is going to hit $10,000 regardless of any type of an ETF. This is mainly because of the actual halving. Altcoins always completely go insane, and Ethereum is definitely going to surpass the doubling of its previous all-time high. That's just I think a more realistic, or like a more like, oh my gosh, number would have been if they said like 12 or 13,000 this year. That would have rattled a little bit more. But 8,000 is going to happen. It's kind of similar to what... Do you remember when Bitcoin was at, I think, $66,000, and somebody was like, oh yeah, Bitcoin's definitely going to 70,000 this year. And I was like, it's like $3,800 away. Like, you can't just say something that's obviously going to happen. The previous all-time high for Ether, I think, was 4,400. It's going to hit 8,000 this year, especially with all of the momentum. The $150,000 is now matching. I told you before, I don't know what everyone is doing, but everyone's price charts, price predictions are now all lining up with each other. It's very fascinating to see. Historically, we have very weird, very different numbers for the cryptocurrency space, like as far as like price predictions for a bull run or for the bull market. They're usually, none of them match, but for some reason now they're all kind of in line with each other. So we'll see exactly how that ends up playing out. I think 150 is probably the most realistic one for this year. It'll probably come more into play around summertime, once we are already above or at around there $100,000. Then I think 150 is kind of a given. Even 250, like just going up, and I say this lightly, just going up another 100K is also like a little, okay, I would assume we'd be a little bit higher. I don't think we're gonna go to 150 and then just stay around 200,000. It seems like a little bit weird, but we've also had a lot more weirder numbers before, as a lot of people, for some reason, I feel like we're at the point where people are kind of just saying numbers and seeing like what sounds right. But also in cool news, all the numbers are kind of lining up, so they do seem a little bit more realistic, as opposed to the $600,000 Bitcoin news that we received just a little while ago. Also, in dramatically popular news, PlanB, Plan Bitcoin, made an announcement, and he basically said that he is expecting Bitcoin to go to $5 million per coin. I don't know if you're new here. I heard someone suck their teeth. I don't know how to convince you. I don't know how to make you understand that there was something. What was this guy's name? I think it was Michael Saylor. A couple days ago, he was at some event, and he said, if you've studied Bitcoin for about a year, you understand exactly where it's going. A lot of times this isn't, talking down to anyone, but a lot of times I meet people who know nothing about the market or just getting into the market, like that kind of thing. And even when I tell them, yeah, Bitcoin's going to 100K, they go, well, how do you know? And it's like, I cannot give you 8 years of daily information in one sentence or one paragraph. And when I do explain to a lot of people, I can see like the boredom on their faces. And it's like, I can't listen, making a video, reading the news every single day for 8 years. Even if I try to tell someone or explain to them what BlackRock, Fidelity, Grayscale, Cathie Wood, and all these things are, then I have to go into a discussion of what BlackRock is and why, and all like the hyper significance of it. If you've been here for a while, if you've been watching this channel for years, I'll say it this way, you know that Bitcoin's going over $1 million. I think what holds a lot of people back is kind of embarrassment to be able to say that aloud or to other people. I've been there before. I told you a lot of times, I tell my friends, people will ask me where I think the market is going, and I'll tell them, I'm like, well, Bitcoin's definitely going to hit 50,000. And they go, it's only 6,000. There's no way that much money can't flow into the market. And I tell people, I remember this was earlier this year. I was like, well, we're going to pass by the all-time high. People will go, well, how do you know that? Like, you can't predict. And it's like, I can't explain the world to you. You have to be in the market. You have to understand. You have to see where things are going. The demand is very high for Bitcoin, and it's not going to abate anytime soon. It's not going to go down. Like, I don't know how to explain that to you. If Bitcoin's price rises, the demand is going to continue to rise along with it. We have halvings. The halvings happen every 4 years. The amount of Bitcoin available for the market decreases. The amount of Bitcoin that's not moving also continues to increase. People are holding on to their Bitcoin. Bitcoin's price will continue to rise as long as Bitcoin is around. It's just, it is a literal supply and demand fact. There's a reason why the number 21 million Bitcoin is so significant, because it's not a lot compared to 8 billion people. I'm not going to go into a rant, but understand. Bitcoin is, as long as Bitcoin is a thing and Bitcoin is around, it is mathematically at some point going to hit $1 million per coin. Don't know how to bring that one home. So PlanB said that Bitcoin's going to $5 million, and of course the uproar happened again. And it's one of these situations, I'll as always, I try and be as honest with you as possible. I just want it to happen already, and not for the richness part of it. It's more of I'm so tired of, do you know what it's like making a video every day for 8 years and having no one like listen to you? Not all of you, like, you're here, cool, gotcha, love you. But I mean, like, imagine you in your life, you do something every day. I upload every day across 2 channels for 8 years, and people to ask you questions and you answer them, and people go, how do I know? And it's like, if you can't take my word for it, I don't know exactly how to really help you in any kind of way. So I kind of just wanted to be there just so I can literally hold up my phone, hold up my computer, invite people over to look at a screen and go, look, I told you it was going to happen, like that kind of thing. Because every time we hit these numbers, the people who didn't believe me before, like in like a slow domino fashion, they slowly enter the market. And it's like, I have a friend, hello, I doubt he's watching. Hello, if you're watching. He told me, he sent me like a meme. He sent me a meme a couple of days ago, and it was something along the lines of like, it was showing someone in like 2011, 2012, like crying over something, that they are so sad that they weren't able to buy Bitcoin. And I messaged him and I was like, you can still do that now. He's like, oh no, I think it's too late. And I was like, Bitcoin's going to $1 million. I was like, you should just buy some right now. And it was just like the 2 blue checks. And I was like, so when Bitcoin does go to 100K, we're going to have the conversation all over again. Where he's going to be like, oh, I should have bought some Bitcoin. I'm going to be like, Bitcoin's still going to 10X. Oh, no, it's too late for me. Bitcoin goes to $500,000. It's like this really weird cycle. And even more so, the amount of skepticism within the cryptocurrency space is so draining sometimes. Having to deal with between people being so tribal over stuff that they did not create, that they simply hold in a wallet, which is also completely weird, that you would like fight tooth and nail against someone over Cardano versus Ethereum versus Bitcoin. And it's like, you didn't make these coins or these protocols. Like, you don't see people fighting in the street because they hold Apple stock or because someone's holding Amazon. It's literally not a thing. You guys sound crazy and absolutely insane. But to hear like actual analysts like throw out numbers for things and the people be like, oh no, that simply cannot happen. And then it does happen. It's like years ago, I told you, PlanB became popular years ago within the space with his charts. He fell out of favor in 2020 and 2021 when prices didn't go as high as he said that they would on according to his charts. And then I had to remind people, I was like, do you remember where we all were mentally in 2020? Like, no one was thinking of like throwing money into the market. I wanted to go outside. Like, I was, people had different stuff that was simply going on. So because it didn't actually happen the way that he said it would, everyone was like, oh, well, whatever, I guess. And now, years ago, he was on a podcast. This is one of the first times I had ever heard about him. And they were asking him where he saw prices going and when this was going to happen and when yada yada blah 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 blah. And they were looking at his charts, and he said by the year 2032 he had these numbers. 2032 it showed over $1 million Bitcoin, and they were like, you think that Bitcoin is going over $1 million? He's like, yeah, just based off of basic supply and demand. Like, we're gonna hit six figures. It's gonna go higher. Every single halving, more and more is going to take place. And they were like, but you can't say this. Then They weren't trying to belittle him, but they were asking, well, I guess where's Bitcoin going, 4 years after? He's like, probably between 5 and 10 million, but I don't say that number out loud because people usually do ridicule him. So now we've gotten to this point in history where he says these numbers out loud and people in crypto go, nope, we're going to hit those numbers. And it's like, okay. So basically his new numbers, or his numbers now, are showing a Bitcoin price between 2020 and 2024. Got it. PlanB's model suggests that Bitcoin is going to hit between $500,000 between 2024 and 2028. I'll get to that in a second. And the idea is that we could go around a $5 million Bitcoin between 2028 and 2032. I'll try and explain this as quick as humanly possible. The idea is that, for those of you who missed it, is that our normal cycles might actually be over and we might be in kind of a constant super cycle. The market's no longer dominated by just me and you. It's now dominated by these heavy-handed institutions. And a lot of times the confusion is that it's just Fidelity and BlackRock who are, buying up coins, when it's actually like many very wealthy entities who are doing everything that they can to buy as much as possible. There's literally not enough Bitcoin left for everyone. Can't reiterate that enough. There's not enough Bitcoin for you and your family. It's simply mathematically not the case. We know that every millionaire and every billionaire on the planet will never own an entire Bitcoin. Like they cannot each own an entire Bitcoin. It is impossible. So based on basic supply and demand from what we've seen before and where the market is going and how many new people we see getting into the market, Bitcoin's going to continue to rise. And as we have seen, anytime that we have had previously a dip in the market, it takes us about a good 2 or 3 weeks to get over that dip. The dips that we've had this year have lasted about 2 days because those coins end up being scooped up and Bitcoin goes up by $6,000 in a day because those coins then leave the market. So the idea is that if that trend continues, any dips will be short-lived because there will probably never be a situation ever again where Bitcoin's price goes down and BlackRock and Fidelity go, well, we'll just wait another 2 years to buy again. No, they're going to be continuously buying, and everyone knows that they're going to be buying. You will know that they're buying as prices have dipped, and people will continue to buy. The situation actually ends up coming from the idea of the halvings. You will understand the significance of these, I promise. By the time we get to the 2028 halving, the issuance rate of Bitcoin, I think, falls down to 1.75 Bitcoin that's made comparative to the 50 that were made a number of years ago. 50 per block is going to fall down to 1 point something. The problem is that by the time we get closer to 2032, the amount of Bitcoin being made per block is literally less than 1 Bitcoin. It is in Satoshis. So, and I think the number, if I'm correct, I think the number is around 700,000 Satoshis are made. Think of that. You, at the time of me making this video, are currently able to buy 1 million. You are able to buy 1 million Satoshis for less than $700. The amount of Bitcoin that's going to be made per block is going to be less than you are currently able to buy. It's going to be less than 1 million Satoshis. The amount of Bitcoin after 2028, if you look at the issuance rate chart, literally collapses. We went over that before. It literally flatlines for another 112 years. Because it's going to take the last Bitcoin to be mined in the year 2140. It takes 112 years. The issuance rate collapses. All that's made is Satoshis at that point. So when we get to 2036, the halving takes place again, and there's only 300,000 Satoshis made per block. That's 3 times less than you can currently get for $700. That's the significance of the halving. Because as we continue on and people stay in the market and use Bitcoin, Bitcoin's price is going to rise because people are going to be doing everything that they can to get as many Satoshis as they possibly can. So he released these numbers. Of course, it caused a bit of a stir. And people were like, and it's not correct until it's correct. And then everyone has a really difficult time with stuff. If you've never seen his charts before, usually spot on. Once again, 2020, 2021, got it. If you look at his charts, the most interesting part is always the blue. There's some blue right here. There's blue right here. There's blue right here. There's dark blue right here. The blue usually indicates the end of the old cycle and the beginning of the actual bull run. So we are currently at the end of the dark blue, and then you see that the red into the orange, this is what we're moving into right now. This is the 2020 halving right here. And this is why the predictions, a lot of times, hear me out here. Even if you look at this chart, his numbers show that, like, this is why, I mean, it all sounds crazy, I understand, but you have to be in the market for a long time to really kind of get it. The craziest numbers that we've had thus far have been 600,000 per Bitcoin over the course of this this cycle. And the lower end tends to be the 200, 250,000. I will say, then we can move on. No one's prepared for what's coming. Like no one, like not even myself. I have ideas of what the market's going to be like, but it becomes a frenzy that becomes almost uncontrollable because the amount of money that you make will cloud your judgment about everything. I mean, like you'll see, it's going to be a very wild ride, but yeah, that's the PlanB news, and that's also the Standard Chartered news and the Mike Novogratz and all these other people who have price predictions for the market news. Yeah, let's move on. In sure news, Litecoin has been entering the news again, and I don't not understand it, but it's also like, cool. So the company BitPay has announced that apparently more people are using Litecoin on their platform, I think, than anything else. It says, breaking, Litecoin is the #1 crypto for payments, reaching a new all-time high of over 41% of all payments on the payment processor BitPay. Litecoin is the market leader in real use. More people pay with Litecoin than the other 3 combined. That is to say, the other 3 are Bitcoin and Ether on the chart. There were predictions years ago. This is also going to be, I mean, if this happens, then the people who were saying all this stuff before were clearly psychic. One of the predictions was that in the future, people would realize the actual value of Litecoin. Litecoin being the quicker version of Bitcoin, and also like the test net, if you want to say that, because Litecoin is a source fork of Bitcoin, anything that works on Litecoin will work on Bitcoin. This is why a lot of times you hear like they have like a lot of like updates and upgrades, especially years ago for Litecoin. Litecoin also has private transactions, which lets us know that in the future Bitcoin will also have private transactions. But cool. It's nice to see Litecoin getting back into the news after having not been there for quite a long amount of time. No one, it's really weird. Litecoin continuously like remains a top coin, but it's never ever in the news. So I wonder what the future of Litecoin is going to be. Like at some point, I think the previous all-time high was 400. I want to say 400. Will we at some point see like a $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000? Like probably. I mean, realistically, listen. If we get to a $1 million Bitcoin, we should probably have a $5,000 Litecoin at that point. Interesting, huh? Yeah. Anyway, that's the BitPay news. Apparently, Litecoin is being used on their platform more than anything else. Wonderful. Also in the news, and this was also popular, and sure, why not? Tether apparently is available, it says, on the mobile-focused Layer 1 platform Celo. It's not Cello, it's Celo. This integration aims to improve cross-border payments and peer-to-peer transactions, currently migrating from a standalone blockchain to a new Layer 2 on top of Ethereum. Celo is a mobile-first network that claims to offer multiple stable assets to users worldwide. However, its primary targets are emerging markets. The integration of Tether into Celo will expand the use of fixed assets currently available in Celo. One, I don't know what a Celo are. Sure, why not? I assume it's relatively popular. Tether is on this never-ending crusade to further decentralize a little bit the coin on different blockchains. It's just more of like a hyper failsafe. If one of them breaks down, then you have 18 other chains to be able to continuously mint Tether on, which is a very smart idea. And we're not, I mean, lightly we're getting back this discussion of like emerging markets again. And I think a lot of the times the news is touted as like, oh, we're doing this to help people, when in actuality, it's not that they're not doing it to help people. It's more of a, we've seen over the last 2 years as a lot of fiat currencies are currently collapsing. A lot of people in different countries are actually choosing, they're not only buying Bitcoin for themselves, but a lot of people are actually transacting in different countries just in Tether. It's very interesting. So we've heard this news from, I believe, El Salvador. It's happening also in Argentina, in Chile, I think, as well. We had news about this in Turkey, and I mean, we also had it from China and Russia a number of years ago as well, where people are trying to not outpace inflation, but trying to outpace the destruction of their own fiat currencies in their countries. And instead of having to throw everything into Bitcoin, they throw it into Tether, which mimics the US dollar, knowing that essentially, air quotes, that their money is safer than in their local currency. So therefore, the emerging markets kind of thing, as if we, the public, have heard about the trends of usage from these countries, we can only imagine that Tether has more accurate information, so therefore they know exactly what they're doing. So cool. They're now minting or working with Celo, and fantastic. Okay. Let's move on. I don't know if I mentioned that some of the news was going to be a little bit weird. Apparently, Relay, a company called RELAI, has partnered with Blockstream. Blockstream being the company who kind of like looks over Bitcoin's code. They were the original like gatekeepers, if you will, of it to make sure that like it wasn't destroyed. Kind of, it's hard to explain. Relay has partnered with Blockstream and Breeze, BREEZ, to allow European users to use the Lightning Network in a self-custodied manner. Relay, the Swiss-based Bitcoin app with a self-custody wallet, has announced a new partnership with Blockstream and Breeze to integrate the Lightning Network into its platform. It says benefiting over 100,000 users, according to Bitcoin Magazine. Cool. I had honestly expected the Lightning Network to be far more prevalent and all over the place at this point, and it is not is. So we don't hear about it that much. It's not everywhere, but there are a lot of apps that are actually using the Lightning Network to actually transact in money. A lot of crypto exchanges also use Liquid and Lightning as well to move Bitcoin around. It's just more of a lot of companies years ago tried to announce that they were going to be integrating the Bitcoin network into their systems because they assumed that people would be wanting to spend or use their Bitcoin. And I think we are a ways off from people actually wanting to sell or relinquish any of their Bitcoin. As I mentioned before in other videos, there's a gigantic difference in Bitcoin being 50,000, $500,000, and $5 million. I think at 50,000, people know no one wants to get rid of their Bitcoin because of the idea that it's going to hit six figures. It might hit 500,000. Why would I not want to 10x my money? But then at that point, the discussion also becomes, if we hit 500K, we're going to $1 million. Why would I want to sell my Bitcoin? I think people will be far more inclined to sell fragments of their Bitcoin. Fragments. As we get over $1 million to 5 million, there's a huge difference in you buying something and it costs 80,000 Satoshis as opposed to 0.15 Bitcoin, like that kind of thing. But the Lightning Network continues to expand. More people are using it. It's just not really mainstream. And I think it won't be for a while, just because nobody wants to be the pizza guy. Yeah. So that's the Relay partnership with Blockstream and Breeze news. And hold on one second. Yeah, okay. Sure, why not? For some reason, a gigantimous portion of the news revolves around Cardano. And I think I get it, but it's also like completely overblown. So a lot of people over the years have been calling Cardano vaporware, a zombie chain. And a lot of that comes from people who are maximalists of other coins and love other projects. And for some reason, people feel threatened by other coins that they don't own or whatever the case might be. It's one thing if you see like a database collapsing 13 times in 1 year, cool, it's garbage. But Cardano is actually being used. It's a blockchain that hasn't failed. It hasn't had any slowdown times. They've done upgrades and updates. They may be slow, but they still kind of happen. To take time out of your day to explicitly talk negatively about a coin or a chain that is doing what they said they were going to do just seems nonsensical. So imagine my surprise when this was the most spoken about news of the day. Basically, people were discussing if Cardano had been abandoned and how Hydra, one of their upgrades, was even still being used. And Mr. Hoskinson, the founder of Cardano, has a thing where like he can't just let it go, and he always has to like be the shield of the project as opposed to just once again living his life on an island somewhere. So he came forward and basically was like lightly telling people off online. Charles Hoskinson, the founder of Cardano, took to Twitter to address what he describes as FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, surrounding one of Cardano's projects known as Hydra. Responding to claims that the Hydra protocol has been abandoned, Hoskinson reassured the community, stating that the development team is more productive and motivated than ever. His message was clear. Hydra is moving forward with strong community engagement and significant enhancements to its protocol. The cryptocurrency community has not shied away from questioning the Cardano team's delivery on its ambitious roadmap. A Twitter user, @TomCrypto, posed several questions to Cardano, ranging from inquiries about the ERC20 converter to partnerships in Africa and Mongolia. For those of you who forgot, Cardano is one of very few projects I believe that actually cares about people, put it that way, where there's actually been how do I state this? There are only a few projects around the world, crypto projects, that actually try to target Africa and Latin America and Southeast Asia, as these are historically countries and continents that have been completely not allowed to be part of the current economic system. So the idea is that crypto, easily used by anyone who has a smartphone, would allow these countries to enter the economic system without having to go through banks or any form of corruption, yada, yada, yada. And they announced before that they had a number of partnerships in Africa and Mongolia. And the ERC20 converter was one of the big things as well, because every chain is doing it. ERC20 is a coin protocol for Ethereum, and every chain is now trying to create a compatibility thing with the most used blockchain, Ethereum. So Cardano is making an ERC20 converter along with the multiple. They're all doing the exact same thing to be compatible with Ether. That's the generalized idea. Hoskinson's response mentioned notable achievements such as the successful launch of the Singularity Net, billion-dollar assets, ongoing RealFi company efforts in Africa, and the conclusion of developer training and pilot programs in Mongolia. And then it basically, he was trying to just talk to people lightly, but a lot of people were just throwing mud in his direction. And from, what's the word? I know from personal experience, just don't respond. I mean, I wish Charles Hoskinson didn't respond to every single thing. Like, of course, I know he wants to reassure people and tell them that things are going on, but I feel like why isn't there a team at this point? So normally what happens is that there's always a team of people who do the social media stuff themselves. 4 or 5 people. They learn about the updates, the developments, and they're the ones who kind of share the news on social media. It's mainly Charles Hoskinson who does it. And I assume it's very draining and exhausting for him to constantly have to do this over and over and over. But this, for some reason, was the most popular news story thing of the day. People asking him, did he abandon so-and-so? Apparently, I don't know what this is. There's a new partnership of something called World Mobile. Not even new at all. It was announced in 2021, and people were asking him about that as well. He was talking about it's raining FUD, and cool. I mean, I don't know what to really say here. To be completely honest, I assumed we had gotten past that, but apparently not, because for those of you who missed the video about a day or two ago, there's also a whole bunch of misinformation and stuff floating around about Ethereum as well. I'm not sure if it's from people, and I mean, who have nothing better to do with their time. But there's a lot of hate against other coins, and it's if you don't own the coin, if you don't like the project, to stay away from it. And I would assume that Cardano, being such a massive project, there should be a constant stream of information for you about things that are happening, and I'm in a very nice way, maybe create a team amongst yourselves. Why is there no situation where there's a Twitter page that's run by 4 people? You can even make your own YouTube channel where the point of view is you literally just release new information about Cardano all the time. Try and get into contact with the Cardano Foundation. I'm sure they would love it. Cardano, I've heard a lot of good things before over the years. I knew a couple of friends who worked with them, with the Cardano Foundation. I don't know what the inner workings were, but they told me they were working with them. And I'm sure they would love a group of people who made videos consistently about Cardano. If you contact them and say, hey, can you give us a weekly or bi-weekly update of stuff going on? They can send you an email. You can make a video about it. Why not? There's a reason why it's called the cryptocurrency community. It's not just, there's a reason why we're not all just looking at what Vitalik Buterin is saying every 14 hours, or what Changpeng Zhao is saying, or Garlinghouse. The point is, it's supposed to be you. You're part of the community. You also have to do not some of the work, but integrate yourself into the community. Try it. Right? Literally. I don't know if it's going to work, but write the Cardano Foundation. Write some of these people, try and get into contact with some of the higher ups and hey, we want to help you guys take some of the load off so that there isn't as much, I hate the word FUD, but that there isn't as much FUD so we can continue to educate the community. Why not? Go do it. Yeah. That's the Charles Hoskinson had a very rough week news. I mean, the chain works. It's being used. What I think it is that during the course of a bull run or bull market or bullish prices, if people see Cardano is going up by 6%, but other coins are going up by 17%, people get annoyed. People want to always outperform other coins, and it's like the coin is doing just fine. Can you imagine if Cardano was 1 cent? Can you imagine if Cardano had been going down by 14% while every other coin was going up? It's fine. Just that people always want more. So, of course, that's where the questions come from. Yeah, I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.